Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's September 28th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and boy, what a day. You don't see a lot of days like this. You can see there's a total of 100 from top to bottom in this bar. This is the daily chart, by the way, with the envelope strategy on it, and this is a 106.5 point day. I mean, I remember used to if you got 100 points in 5 days, that was a pretty good move. So unfortunately, it's to the downside. We don't really care as day traders as long as it moves. And days like this, try to get all of these you can. These are the kind of days when you get a strong sell-off like this. These are the days that you need to try to make as much money as you can. Normally, I tell you to take your 2 or 3 trades for the day and call it a day. But when it just keeps going and going and going, and it's strongly going in one direction. Yeah, there was a few rallies today, but every rally met serious selling, and it wasn't long before there was some kind of setup that gave you a great short and a good move down. So it really you got to take advantage of these days. But you can clearly see the big day. I mean, we moved from the midline all the way into oversold in one bar. That doesn't happen very often. I mean, you can see we've had a few big sell-off kind of days in the past, recent past, but not many like that. I mean, they're just few and far between, and generally they're followed by huge rallies. And so you can see we had a fairly nice rally there for a couple of days, and now we're selling off. We hit that midline and turned down. So where do we go from here? I'm not sure. We could be rolling over, and this thing may be ending. We may be going to trend down for a while. Uh, if you just look at the daily chart, if we were to get a measured move down, I mean, we could trade all the way down to close to 4,200 on just a measured move alone. So how quick we get there, I don't know. We have another day like that, we'll be there real quick. But generally, once you start getting down into these, past this purple and into this brown and outside of that, usually the market bounces pretty strongly and pretty quickly. Let me get this off there. So we'll just have to see. I have no idea what to expect tomorrow. So far, price action's pretty much reacted just as you would expect it would. We were in this little congestion, broke out, came back, got inside it for temporarily, and then fell out again. So we could just get into a big range here for a while. We could sell off, we could reverse. It's just way too early to tell. So, but right now things are kind of bearish. No surprise with a big day like that, big sell-off capitulation like that. Generally, you'll retest those lows again. So it's no real surprise that we did come back here from the midline. Now, if we keep going lower, I'll probably be a little surprised. Not completely, but that would surprise me. I would expect we might try to make another leg up and retest these highs one more time. So how quickly or how we get there, we'll just have to see. That's all we narrow down to the daily chart, so we get a better idea of where the prices are going in the short term. But yeah, I'm going to move over to the 2,000 tick chart because there's a lot of trades today, and I'm going to have to move through them pretty quickly. So let me get over. Okay, and here's a look at the 2,000 tick intraday chart, and you can see we had a clear 2 measured legs down, and we bounced there and made a new low, and sometimes that leads to a reversal. It did in the day. We actually got another little channel going here. Let me just make this a different color of some kind. And that one played out. And then we even made one more push down, actually 2 more pushes, and then we rallied a little bit. It looked like we were ranging there, basically, in this kind of grayish color here. And so this looks a lot like yesterday, other than the fact that we got 2 legs down. If you look at yesterday, we just really had 1 big leg down, and then we ranged. Today we had 2 measured legs down, and we ranged after that. Although there's still a downward bias here all day. You're not going to see, I don't know if I marked any longs, even when, because every time it looked like it was going to reverse, the selling just comes back in. So every time prices rallied a little bit, more selling came in. And you can see all the sales there. They're everywhere. So if you couldn't find a trade today, you know, somebody made the comment, I believe it was yesterday or day before, that in the forum that, hey, I hadn't found many second entries. And I said, just wait. Some days are better than others. And every second entry you got with the trend today was a chance to sell, a good chance to sell. And likely you probably got a good runner too. So just keep that in mind. So just when you think this market's not giving you much, then all of a sudden it'll throw a, you know, instead of throwing a splashing water in your face, it'll throw a bucket on you in a good way. It could be a bad way if you're trying to pick bottoms. And this is a great example of why we don't counter trend trade. If you try to pick bottoms here, you got burned all the way down. Yeah, you might got a scalp here and there if you hit it just right. But this market didn't reverse at typical places where most markets do. This thing is just extremely bearish right now. So, or at least it was today. So let's get through the trades because it's going to take a few minutes. I'm going to move through these quickly because we just don't have time to talk about them all. So I am going to move through this quickly. Early on, we just had the yellow channel, and we had this break. And 7 o'clock comes right here. This is just right at 7 o'clock, so you may not have been at your seat in time to take it. But it's clearly a second entry short. Plenty of room back to the EMA, and you would expect prices at least come back there, even if we're going higher. But we don't have a new low in place on the yellow channel, and you don't know the blue one's there yet. So we're just playing the yellow channel, and there's your second entry short. And so you probably don't get a runner on that one, but it's a quick, easy scalp. And then we bounce here. At this point, you've got this what looks like a trend line coming up, but we're coming down, and you don't really get a close outside. If you did, I'd probably say make this one blue. I think this is the only long trade of the day because it's looking like we're going higher here, like they're going to trap the shorts. At the very least, prices are probably coming back to the EMA. So you're just trying to get a quick scalp back to the EMA. Make this a little bigger. Let me zoom in a little more. But you can clearly see we're working down. You get a first entry, and this is actually a second entry, but I believe it's too early. It kind of confirms that trend line, but I think that's a tad too early to try to get long, still inside that two-tier channel. So just give it a minute, and then we make that higher low. Such a nice bullish bar. We're probably going to, and it actually closes and opens and ticks up a few ticks, so you could have dropped your limit order in there and got even better entry on that, or at least try to, when it tries to fill that little gap. And if you catch that, that's a nice move. It looked like we were going to reverse out of there, and then it turns down there. And look how bearish it is. Comes back, makes a lower high. This is what a good lower high or a better lower high looks like. Notice you got your high here, and this confirms this blue trend line coming down through here. And you actually would want to draw, actually you'd probably draw a new one right there on the yellow one too. And then you get a failed second entry long that breaks higher and turns down. I don't think I would trade that engulfing, but if it breaks below that bar, we're probably going lower. And so that's the way I would trade that. I made that one green because it's kind of going sideways there, but it pretty much further confirms that trend line. And if not, even if you don't see the blue one, you should have been drawing a new one there. And that's a pretty nice move. And if you catch that, you could ride this thing all the way to the bottom. But we run on down. We come back to the trend line here. You get a first entry, and then you get another second entry with a nice bearish bar, and it's off to the races again. And you easily get a runner on that one. Just about every one of these second entries you got an easy runner, just a gimme. It's just almost a gimme every time. And we come back, you get another second entry, and this one pretty much confirms the blue channel. But it would be the first break of the yellow one, even if you didn't see it. It's a second entry, just go short right there, and you can see how quickly, boom, it was off to the races again. If you didn't like that one, here's another second entry. Notice the new low, first entry, second entry, boom, off to the races again. Any one of these would give you an easy runner. And on this one, this one's a little bit interesting. You get a new high here, so it's a first entry, second entry. So it's a failed second entry. It's sideways, though. I don't have my little, but it's sideways, and it's a little failed break. It's like a little breakout pullback. Normally, you'd look to fade this, but in a strong trend, that's when this would be the time I'd tell you to look for a breakout pullback short. If it was just that entry, though, I'd tell you to skip it. But being at the EMA, the key entry point, and a failed second entry long with a nice bearish bar, take that. And again, it's off to the races, another runner. We come down here, we make a new low, first entry, second entry, right at the key entry point, boom, another runner. Now somebody will probably ask me, hey, we had a break of the yellow one and a new low. Why are you still, look, when you get a break here, but it continues to respect that trend line, just trade it, especially on second entries. This is a strong, by this time, this is a strong trend. And we did have the measured move here now. So, but on that second entry, right at the key entry point, EMA, with that thing pointing down like that, I'm going to take that trend. I'm going to take probably every second entry I see. Then suddenly we come up, we get a first entry and another second entry. This bar is not good enough, but this one is. Look how bearish. Just go short right there. You might try a limit order there, but if you did, you got left behind. Another nice move down. There's actually, this is interesting here. Now, let me show you this. This is actually a failed second entry long. Notice the move down, and you go higher right there. And you make this bearish bar, and it actually ticks lower and then turns up. So that was your first entry. And then it goes lower and it comes back up on a second entry long and it fails. So when it goes below that bar right there, it's probably got people trapped. Just, you got to be careful on this and make sure there's enough room to get out before this bottom here. I mark this one green because it's a little advanced and it's a little aggressive too. But this thing's been so bearish on a trap like that, I'm going to take it. And it drops on down, makes a new low, and then we get our first. Actually, we already had a break out of the blue and a new low here, but you know you're going to get more, another retest of this low on a sell-off this hard. You're just almost, you don't know when, but you know you're probably going to get one. So you got to be careful, and you got to make sure the trend's reestablishing itself before you go short. But we just kind of work sideways. I don't see anything I don't want to go long here. Even if you get a failure, you don't want to go long. It's way too early to go long on a trend day like this, so just sit tight, and you can clearly see. I mean, if you don't know what prices are going to do, which we don't really know here, the correct move is no move at all. And you can clearly see that sideways right there. Until we break out and we come back, we test it once. We come back and we test the breakout twice. So you got a failed second entry long. You got a double test. Actually, you got a triple test because we came out and tested the breakout once, twice, three times. And then on top of that, you got a second entry short when it breaks lower. Notice the new low. First entry. Try to go higher again. So you got a second entry short, a failed second entry long, a double test of the breakout area. Just so many reasons to go long, short right there. Boom. And you would hope it takes on off. It doesn't. You may not get a runner on this one, but it's a quick, easy scalp. And it actually comes back here. If this bar would have been bearish enough, I'd have told you to go short here too, because you definitely could have labeled that a triple test. It may even test the breakout area again. No, it doesn't quite get back there. But anyway, it drops on down. It actually comes back with a first entry, second entry, but you got to go short right into that measured move. And that's never a good idea. Even on a strong day like today, I just don't think that's worth risking. Turns out to be a great move, but you know, technically you could actually draw a short term. It's probably going to be more like that trend channel like here, and then you get a break and new low, and then it bounces higher low here, but you don't go long in this stuff because you see you come up here and you get a break, a new high, and boom, it's off to the races again. And That's just a first entry short counting from here, but it confirms that trend line. It's a huge bearish bar. This has come up. You got your break, new high. That's a great setup. There's actually a failure here to the long side. Notice that new high, first entry, second entry. I don't think it's worth taking. I think it still worked. In fact, let me just check it, but I wouldn't take that trade. And you can see how quickly it bounced. It's just too, yeah, you got more than enough room in there to scalp out. So if you took that trade, I wouldn't beat you up because this thing has been so bearish. But the fact that we're under that measured move and we're just not taking off again, we're just kind of chopping around, I'd be real careful there. Of course, we come back and we test that high a third time, but you don't get a good setup there. You do get a lower high right here and a big bearish bar. I don't think I would trade it on the engulfing, but when it made that bar, you can go short right there. If you didn't take that one when it broke higher again and turned down, by all means go short, and it'd be one tick below that bar on a failed second. Actually, that's not really a failed second entry long. It's just a lower high off this high, because we had a lower high here and then we make another higher high and a lower high. But it's a second entry short as well, because notice that swing low. There's a swing right in here. You don't really see it because we broke higher first and then turned down, but that's a new swing low. So first entry, and then it went higher, and when it comes back through, it's a second entry. It looks a lot like another one back there somewhere. It's kind of a repeat pattern. And then we drop on down, and you could call that a failed second entry long right there, because that's a new high, first entry, second entry. And it is a very bearish bar, but it's right into these lows, and it scares me. I wouldn't take that. If you took it, I wouldn't be too rough on you about taking that one. You could call it green, but why risk a trade like that when you had all these good trades all day long? And it's still early in the day, so you're probably going to get more. And notice what happens. We come back again, and this is a second entry short and such a bearish bar so far away from the EMA and right at that resistance area. You're always better to wait on the lower high. So I think this is the better trade right here. And look how far you're still away. Even with that channel there, I'm going to take that trade because it's such a bearish day. I might even have that channel a little bit flat. In fact, it might even be more like this. It doesn't really matter because the downtrend bias and this resistance right here is really what we're playing. But even if you don't like those two, in just a minute, you get a first entry and then a second entry long that fails, and that gives you a first entry and a second entry short, and again, it's off to the races. There's a lower high here, but I think we moved too far for a lower high at this point. You don't really know if that's a key entry point at that point. And we didn't even quite get back to the EMA. I just think it's a little risky. And at that point, really, your range lows were right in here too. So I just think that one's too risky. We come back, you get a first entry and another second entry. Not a good enough signal bar, but if you wait just a minute, you get a failure. But again, you don't have much room here to play with. And so I'm not crazy about it. I marked it green, but I think you're better off to wait. If you wait just a second, you get a first entry, second entry short with a great signal bar. Not too big, very bearish though. I mean, that's only 7 ticks, and that's a quick, easy scalp. No runners on this one. I mean, we've moved much further than anybody's probably anticipating at this point. So at some point, you're going to see some strong. This is where you're going to start seeing some strong rallies, probably. Even if they play out quickly, you're going to see some strong rallies. I wouldn't try to trade them. I think it's too risky. I'm not taking any longs. But we run up here. We find resistance again at the highs, and then we make a lower high with that big bearish bar. I'm going to take that trade. And it bounces for a minute, but just a few minutes later, the bottom falls out. And you get another one. You can ride all the way down to the lows again. Now it's pretty obvious. It looks like we're ranging here. You can see the EMA starting to look like a roller coaster. Technically, you won't know that till it bounces here. So, but it runs on down. Again, that's a lower high, but it's just moved too far. It's too congestive. Uh, there's a failure here. That's not where high failure you want to see. And you can see you would have got burned right there only to watch it go lower. And there is a second entry short here, but this is your signal bar, the big green one, and this is an inside bar. So I just don't recommend taking those inside bars. On a day like this, you might take that because it is also a failed break out of the little congestion. Most days I'd tell you don't take that. If you took it, yeah, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on a day like this because every second entry is just off to the races. And of course we bottom in the same location again. And notice how we rallied out here. Everybody knows now, every time we make a new low, we rally strongly. And you can see the channel coming down the break in the new low. And then this thing rockets out of there. And what happens is a lot of new shorts come in, and they come in places like down in here, and you know, and then all of a sudden it starts reversing, and they all get scared and get out. And then and then maybe some people that have been in for a while or say, I'm not going to risk it anymore. We've bounced here twice in a row, and they all exit. And then you get a two-legged correction, which we'll see here. But still, this is basically a double bottom. So you're moving up, you get a first entry, a second entry. I didn't mark this one because you really need to wait on a lower high, and you get that here, but you don't have a good signal bar, and then you get two legs down, it reverses. Again, I don't think you want to go long here in any way. You might look for that measured move up, which notice we get that a little bit more, and then it sails off again, which is what you would expect. So no surprise there. And then of course on this second leg up, we're just kind of working sideways here. You probably could call this down here like so. I drew it where you got the most closes, which is really, I think I had it a little higher than that a minute ago, but that's pretty good. Pretty good right there. If you use the closes, really you get most of your touches right along there, which is where I really had it drawn. And you just can't really trade this. I don't see any setups here I like. This one's a possibility because it's a high or low outside, and you might make that measured move, and you actually do make the measured move, but it even goes a little further. It's tempting to short that. It's a second entry short, way away from the EMA, and it's a very tiny bar, 6 ticks. Again, I didn't mark it, but if you took it, you know, I wouldn't be afraid to take that trade if I wanted to be a little aggressive. Not on a day like we've had, especially after two legs up here. We do make a lower high, not a good setup, and then we make a failed second entry long. It's above the EMA, but it ends up closing below it, so I like going short there. It does bounce and try to go higher. You wouldn't have got stopped out on it though, but notice then you get a first entry, second entry, and a big bearish bar, and then boom, it's off to the races again. Again, you get a runner on this. And you come down here, and we're working sideways again. You bounce off the lows, draw this channel, bounce off the lows. Again, I wouldn't look for any longs in here. And this is just a triple test. You may test it once, twice, 3 times. There is a little hidden looking second entry in there, but very bearish bar, and it's right off the key entry point. I like going short there. And then it bounces and comes back again, and now you got the resistance, the trend line, and basically another, almost looks like a repeat of that move up. Go short again, and again you got a runner. Normally I wouldn't mark a lower high like this, but again, this is a very strong day. It's back inside the gray channel, and it comes back and tests it, and it closes way down here outside of it. Look how bearish that bar is. You know, normally, like I said, I'd tell you don't take that trade, but today, if you want to be a little aggressive, that's where you do it. And again, you get an easy runner. I mean, just that one move right there. basically 14.5 points. That's the kind of moves you want to get. It looks like we get an overshoot here, and then it bounces. And you made that high, you test it once, you test it twice, and it's a big bearish bar again. Still everything's under the EMA. Normally on an overshoot like that, I'd tell you don't take another short, but you may take this one. Actually, because it's a triple test, and this has been so bearish, I marked it. It probably should be green. It's a little more aggressive than I probably felt like at the moment. But looking at it after I've had time for this, you know, maybe it's just because I know what happens after that. We just go sideways. But notice we bounce first entry, second entry, bearish bar right off the key entry point. Go short there. Easy. Another easy one with a runner. And then we bounce into 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And that's really, I mean, if you couldn't find a trade in there today and you didn't find the second entry with the trend, then you got some work to do. So that's like I said, this market will lull you to sleep. Just when you think you're not going to get any good trades, boom, and you get a day like today. And like I said, if you took any second entry with the trend today, it just about was a winner. And not only was it a winner, you got a chance to get a runner. And some of them, I'm talking about 20, 30, 40 points worth of runners, depending on how aggressive you want to be and how big a pullback you're willing to ride out. So, great day. We don't get a lot like this. I hate that it's to the downside. I'd much rather see it to the upside. And you know, people ask me why I say that, because I have other investments. I mean, I do have stocks that I've invested in, and so my stock portfolio, I don't buy and trade stocks on day trading, but I do invest in stocks, and I hate to see my stocks take a hit. So I haven't even looked at them. I don't know how they did or didn't do, but on a day like this, you're not going to find many winning stocks. So you probably could have shorted any stock today and made money. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is getting on into 30 minutes, but it was worth it. Good day, lots of trades to talk about, and I feel like I still moved through it quickly. But I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.